Yeah, man, for sure. Well, I kind of think of it in terms of I've come up with something. I just named it. I call it the 3D flexibility system,
Right.
and it's just because I've identified three different major factors, and then there's three factors, sub factors for each of those. So, for example, number one, we can talk about soft tissue. So, soft tissue, and then there's three sub factors under the soft tissue category. You got fascia. So, fascia is something that often keeps people tight. You have muscles. So muscles can be shortened, and you just gotta stretch them out a little bit. That's where some people. I'm not gonna say stretching is totally useless and nobody gets any benefits ever. Some people can stretch and they can get some benefits,
Right.
but that's definitely not everybody. And there's some data that's showing the next subcategory under the soft tissue, which is the joint capsule. There's a book by Michael Alter called The Science of Flexibility, and he shows some data that reveals that it's actually not the muscles and the fascia that is the biggest limiting factor with respect to flexibility. It's the joint capsule. And you don't hit the joint capsule with your typical static stretches.
Right.
So if you're tight because you've got a restricted joint capsule, then you got to do something else to directly address that joint capsule. Otherwise, you're going to stay tight.
Yeah. Yeah, I know all about that. I was just hanging out with Eric in Miami, and I was telling him about my hip. And I have relatively flexible hips. I could do the front splits both ways, but the side splits won't happen, and it's because I have a little impingement in the joint capsule. And so I've been trying to figure out ways to dig in and get that thing unlocked so I could actually get to my goal of being able to do side splits before the end of the year.
Nice, nice. Yeah, I'd like to see you going down the street on a couple of trucks.
Jean-Claude Van Damme style.
Yeah, you should splice that clip in right here.
That'd be fantastic. So you mentioned just three things that are tight. What's the rest of the 3D flexibility system?
Okay, so that was soft tissue. You
Sure.
got neuromuscular is the next one. So neuromuscular is like, it can be things like neuromuscular reflexes. There's some reflexes that if a muscle stretches, those reflexes can automatically kick in and contract those muscles to keep it from stretching any further. So you've got to properly address that component of the system. There's pain threshold. That's one thing. Got to get used to a little bit of pain when you're getting into flexibility and trying to lengthen and improve your flexibility. So a lot of people, they'll get into a little bit of stretch, and once it gets a bit uncomfortable, they'll be like, I can't do it anymore. The muscles will contract and they'll just, back off and they won't go any further. But the key there is you got to actually go into it. You got to feel that pain. You got to breathe through it. That'll allow your neuromuscular system to say, hey, this is okay. So I don't have to contract the muscles all the time, and that'll help to release, and you'll be able to gain that new range of motion that way. So that's another category. So neuromuscular, soft tissue. Yeah, I think I got all those. And then the last one is strength. And strength, there's three factors again under strength. There's strength of the prime movers. So the muscles that are getting you into and out of that range of motion. So let's say you're weak. You don't have strength at the end range of motion. Your body's not going to want to go there because it's dangerous. So if you get down to the bottom of the squat and you don't have any strength to get out of the bottom of the squat, your neuromuscular system is going to detect this and say, hey, we better not go into that bottom of the squat because we're going to get stuck there, or the joint's going to be not safe there. Things are going to get damaged. So it's going to restrict that range of motion, tighten up the muscles so that you can't get down there anymore. There's joint stability, so joint stabilizers, same kind of thing. If your joints aren't stable at the end range of motion, your neuromuscular system's not going to allow you to go down there. And finally, another big one, and this one's more related to the hips, and it's core stability. So if you don't have a properly functioning core, not just a strong core, but a core that works when it's supposed to, the right muscles fire when they're supposed to. If your core is not working properly, other muscles have to come into play. So it's like a factory, like an industrial line where people are working. If one guy, all of a sudden goes to the bathroom and he's gone for half an hour, everybody else has to pick up the slack. Otherwise, something's going to break. Like, things are going to start to pile up or whatever. Machines are going to break. I don't know. I haven't worked in a factory for a little while. But that's what will happen. Same thing with your body. If the core muscles aren't working properly, what's going to happen is other muscles, and in the hips, the psoas is a popular one. Psoas likes to jump in and start to work when it's not supposed to. And when it's overworking, it's going to chronically shorten up and tighten up. And it's going to be so rigid. And people, especially with sitting all the time, people have those tight, shortened psoas muscles. Well, that can also come from an improperly working core. So those are the three kind of factors that you have to consider when looking to work and improve your flexibility.
That's good, man. I'm happy that you've looked into this stuff and you've done your research and taken a look at it, because there's so much confusion out there about flexibility training. Like you said, a lot of people are saying don't do it before your workouts. Then there's a lot of people saying don't do it after workouts. I've always, said, it's best to kind of separate your flexibility training from your regular training if you have the allotted time. But it's cool how you incorporate the factors of that neuromuscular system and the strength. Like, one of the things that I've always really valued is, hey, if you can drop into the side splits, great. But if you can't generate any muscular tension down there, then you're just in dangerous, dangerous territory, especially when you're an athlete. Like, if you imagine if your BJJ guys could do the splits, but he had no strength there, I mean, you're talking about just an injury waiting to happen.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Absolutely, man. Well, we'll talk a little bit more about flexibility in a second. I'm interested in something else. Since you train MMA athletes, you probably deal a lot with mindset, right? You probably deal a lot with getting those guys to really put out all their effort into their workouts. And so I'm interested in your tips and tricks on how people can utilize their mindset in order to work out harder and get better results from their workouts.
That's a good question.
Pressure's on, baby.
So let's just talk in terms of MMA, and then it can be directly applied to anything else, any other type of workout that you're doing. So one thing that I found is I've worked with a bunch of different guys over time, and I've also trained MMA. So, we like to hang out at the gym after a tough training session, just kind of tired, and you've been beating each other up for an hour, just chilling out, shooting the shit. And one thing that I found is, I remember at this specific period, there's two guys who really wanted to fight. Like, they were training MMA, they were back, they were coming every day, 5-6 days a week at least, and always going at it. But over it was like a 6-month period, one of the guys' progress was like, boom, he just flew. Like, he just got so much better in BJJ, in his striking game, boxing, Muay Thai, all that stuff. His skills just improved so fast. And the other guy, he showed up just as much as guy number one. I don't want to name any names because they might be watching this, the Garage Warriors around the world. But guy B was, showing up just as often, but he was pretty much plateaued. And I remember he was better than me when I started rolling with him in BJJ. I was really focused on BJJ at the time. He was better than me. But after like 3-4 months, I started to tap him out a little more often when we'd roll. And then after like 5-6 months, I was pretty much like, he couldn't touch me. It was pretty much one-sided when we'd roll. And I was talking to them after a workout one time, after a rolling session. We're all hanging out, and I'm asking the one guy B, whose progress is pretty much plateaued, is like, so what do you think about when you come in to train? Like, what's going through your head? And the first thing that came out of his mouth was not to get tapped out. Like, that was his answer. I don't want to get tapped out. I'm showing up to class, and I just don't want to get tapped out. And if I don't get tapped out, that's a success, I guess. And then the other guy was sitting there, the first guy whose progress rapidly shot up, and I asked him, so what do you think about before your class? And basically, he said, I think about this move. Today I was thinking about pulling off this move. And every class, we talked about it a little more, but every class he'd come to, he'd think about a specific move or techniques that he'd want to do, and he'd really focus on getting them. Whether he'd get tapped out or not, he would go for those moves and try to get them in rolling, in sparring. So it's two different approaches. One guy's thinking about, okay, this is what I don't want. And then the other guy's thinking about, okay, this is what I want, this is what I'm going for. And that approach is what you want to do, is you want to think about, okay, go to the gym, I'm going to the gym, and this is what I got to work on today. I want to get, 5 reps, 225-pound back squat, or whatever it is. It's not, I want to go to the gym, or I just want to go to the gym and work out, or what else? I don't want to leave without having a good workout, or something like that. Yeah. So the thing is, really focus on what you're going for, and have an idea of what you want to achieve in each workout every time you go to the gym. So whether it's, you might be doing 5 exercises, but make at least one of those exercises, make it a goal to beat whatever you've done previously. Don't just go through the motion. So that's a huge thing for like MMA. There's millions of techniques. So you could focus on one new technique every class for the next 30 years and still have millions of techniques to learn. But also the gym, focus on at least one thing improving in each time. And if you do that, you're working out 3 days a week. It's like over 150 workouts a year. You're going to be a lot farther ahead than you were previously.
That's a fantastic tip, Eric. It's interesting because behavioral psychologists say that we don't hear negative connotations. Our subconscious mind doesn't hear that. So when he's going in there thinking to himself, "Don't get tapped out," all he's saying to
Yeah,
himself is, "Get tapped out, get tapped out, get tapped out." Versus the other person who's saying, "Pull this move off," and that's all his focus is directed on. So that's really powerful to think in terms of like, what is my one specific goal? We talked a lot about that this last weekend at the event we were at, that one specific goal, because
yeah,
it's so powerful when you have all of your intention and all of your focus directed behind one thing. And I also like how you applied that with the workouts. If you went in there and let's say you just matched all of your other PRs or you got close, and one of them you just crushed, and that was the one you focused on that day, that's still going to get you better results over the course of a year as long as you're consistent and as long as you do something like that every time you hit the gym.
exactly. It's super powerful.
That's fantastic, man. Any other mental tips and tricks that we can use to get better results from our workouts?
In terms of working out, definitely very simple thing. Just stay focused, stay present in your workout. Don't
Yeah.
be, go and texting everybody. Oh, I'm just did a set of bench press, and then on Facebook or whatever, taking pictures of your biceps in the mirror. Just stay focused. Put the phone away. Put some music on. Go on airplane mode, and just get to the task at hand. I think that's a huge thing that it's a huge problem. I mean, with smartphones and Facebook and all this stuff,
Sure.
is just not paying attention to what we're doing. It's a problem in the gym. It's a problem at the dinner table when you're eating, and it's a problem everywhere. So just give yourself, the gift of being able to get in there,
Just
you
messing around.
bastard, put that phone away. Yeah, just give yourself the gift of, an hour of dedicated time to yourself, where you focus on yourself and you're focused on being a better you.
That's fantastic, man, because you're right. The phones, the constant inundation of media and so on and so forth is making people lose their ability to focus, and that lack of ability to focus makes you just kind of scatterbrained. And you don't get anything done when you're scatterbrained in the gym or in your work or in your life or anything like that. So that's another great tip, man.